Welcome. I'm your host, Dustin. And before we start jumping into what we're talking about today, I want to know what is your personal, most anticipated horror film of the year? There's a lot of things in the lineup this year. Is it a film that has already came out? Is it the one that I'm going to be talking about today? Or is it one further down the road? Uh, you know, I think definitely the past like 3 or 4 years, horror has definitely hit mainstream more than I think it's ever ever been on the mainstream. With all the releases that are going on, all the streaming services, a lot of movies going into theater that we never thought would be in the theater, a lot of new franchises and new solo films that are coming out from indie creators to large scale development from studios. I think it's a great time to be somebody who loves horror or someone who's a fan of cinema. People who like to go to the theater or have friends over and watch some kind of goofy film. I think it's a great time to be doing what I'm doing, is reviewing these films, being able to see them sometimes beforehand, sometimes after the fact, or interview so many amazing people that I've done over the last year and a half. It's great to be doing what I'm doing, and I love what I'm doing. It's just that sometimes it takes me a little bit to get there. A lot of things happening personally and whatnot, and I'm being a bit pickier this year with what I can do. But besides all that, let's jump into what we're talking about today, and is, I believe, the most anticipated horror film of the year, maybe just the summer, and that is the 2024 Longlegs. Now, before we jump into this, I want to talk about the marketing that was behind this film, because I think it was late last year that Neon put out like a press release essentially of all these upcoming horror films that will be dropping this year. And I think there was like three, and I only remember Cuckoo and this one. And I especially remember this one because the first marketing thing that they dropped that scared the fuck out of me and a lot of other people is because of how deceptive it was and how it was kind of doing this zoom in aspect. And I know all of you know what I'm talking about. Was the still picture of the mom and dad and a girl in the middle, and their eyes are red, and then you have this police call going, and it's just zooming in on this girl, and it keeps saying, she's not my daughter. She's not my daughter. I don't know who she is, but she's not my daughter. So I just kept hearing that, and that honestly kept me up at night. I thought that was creepy as hell, and I'm like, if this is what this movie is about things not being what they are, but we are going to eventually figure out what it is, it's going to be great. Now, did we really get that kind of aspect? I guess in a way we did. There was some sort of allusion to this film that I really, really enjoyed. So, let me know what you thought about the marketing. Did that creep you out at all? Did you completely skip all of that? Were you trying to go in this as blind as possible? And I need to give props to myself because I didn't watch any trailers. I didn't watch anybody talk about this. I stayed completely in the dark other than that one marketing thing that they did. And I was like, yes, I'm amped for this. Cannot wait for this to drop. So, saw the film last night with a friend of mine. He really wanted to go and see it. So I was like, I'll wait till you can go and see it. I wanted to see it opening day. But, we went to go see it about a week later. And it was fun. Now, is this a film that's going to please a lot of people? Probably not. Is there a lot of comparisons between this with Seven and Silence of the Lambs? Yes. Is Oz Perkins a good guy or a bad guy? That's up to you to decide. There's a lot of people who don't like him, and there's a lot of people who do like him. Do I think he's a presumptuous asshole sometimes? Yes. Did he put out a release or a statement and or like an interview the other day about him kind of bashing horror, but also liking horror because it gives him freedom to do what he wants? Yeah, I think he's a bit of a pain as I just drop a bottle over here. But if you can keep having an output like this and have a very like gripping movie and something that makes me want to watch it again or see something else along these lines, then yes, I really do want to go and watch more of his films. Um, just because he's the son of Anthony Perkins does not mean he's the greatest person in the world. But I think he has a brilliant mind and he knows how to make something appealing and semi fresh. Because, yes, it draws a lot of things from, like I said, from Seven, from Silence in the Lambs, but also adds a whole nother element to it. And I think it really shines bright in that aspect. Now, let's jump into the film. What did I think about it? Did I think it held up to all the hype that's surrounding it? I think with the hype aspect, I want to say yes and no. There were definitely parts in him like, yeah, so this is why this movie needs to be hyped. Yes, this is great. I love this. But as some other things, there were a few moments in the film that really kind of lost me. A little bit of them just going through things and writing things. A lot of going back and forth and looking through newspapers and pictures and stuff, which I thought at first was really, really cool. But we get introduced to this main character after we have like an opening scene, which I think was brilliantly shot. I need to go over this really, really quickly. So the opening shot, there's snow. First of all, if you guys know me at all, if there's snow in a film, in a video game, I am all for it. I love snow. I think it adds such a awesome atmosphere and this makes everything bright. And for what you get set up in the beginning of this film really sets a tone for what you're going to be going on for the rest of this journey. So you see a little girl. We don't know who she is yet, but she's at home. We assume that she's alone. She has a camera with her. She sees somebody outside, which I thought, okay, there's someone outside. Maybe she knows this guy or person that's in this car. But then you find out when she's like going to the house that she actually is alone. So she has no idea who this person is, but she's going out to take pictures or whatever, maybe to show whoever her family member is, whether it's her mom or dad. We don't know who lives with her yet. And we get set up to a lot of tension. And that's the main word I want to say that surrounds this film, what you're getting yourself into. If you're a fan of tension and not being able to feel like you can breathe at any moment in a film, this is for you. If you don't like that feeling of being tense all the time and really like listening and watching and seeing what's happening, you may not be a fan of this. But the tension in the beginning of this film goes throughout the entire time. It barely lets you breathe at all. There's so much tension that it's really, really anxiety inducing. As someone with anxiety, I got a few times for sure. I was like, there's something happening in the background, blah blah blah. But anyway, let's go back to the beginning of the film. So the little girl sees a car and then she hears someone behind her say something, and if you look really closely, it looks like somebody was peeking around like the back of the house where she was. I don't know if that really happened. I need to go back and watch the film again to see if that happened, but that was like, oh wow, this is crazy. I said to my friend, I'm like, I love this, but I hate it at the same time. So she walks and then she hears someone talk to her, and she turns around and all you see is lips and a little bit of a torso, and that's pretty much it. And there's a picture, and then we jump forward, I guess like 20 years from now. We find that out later. One other thing I want to bring up is that this film, regardless of like the beginning of what we saw with the little girl, when it jumped to adult version of everybody, I thought this film was set in maybe the 70s or the 80s, but then you find out that this is more like 95. But I feel like there's a lot of things that don't really line up for it being in the 90s, but maybe that's just me. And that's just a quick side note. But we get introduced to Lee Harker, who is played by oh my god, I think it's Micah Monroe, and then we get introduced to her like officer, essentially, like I think is like the director of like the branch of FBI that she is, Agent Carter, who's played by Blair Underwood, who is amazing. They're all amazing, and Micah, I think, does a great job of being so awkward and weird, because we kind of find out like why she's like that. So we get introduced to like essentially a manhunt. People have descriptions or pictures or something, and they have to go to these neighborhoods. They have to be like, hey, have you seen this person? Blah blah blah, because this murder is happening and whatnot. So they go to a house, and she's partnered with somebody, and her partner goes out and knocks on all the doors while she stays in the car. And she gets out of the car, and then she feels something, I guess, inside her that says it's this house. And the guy's like, nah, it can't be. We can't just be jumping to assumptions right now and put a manhunt and a hit on this house because you have some kind of feeling about it. So he goes there, and he gets shot. He gets shot as soon as he knocks on the door, and then she goes in, and then the whole place is like taped with plastic and whatnot. And she finds somebody sitting on a bed and tells him not to move, blah blah blah. Then we see her going through like some of these tests. I guess maybe to get into the FBI, you have to go through certain tests of saying what you see and then saying a number, and then later on, Agent Carter says, "Oh, you nailed like all 8 of those number algorithm things." And she's like, "Yeah, well, it took me a couple times." But you kind of get this like feeling, okay, so she's psychic, so she must be able to read things and put things together good because she has like a weird connection, maybe. And they kind of play around with that a little bit. I wish they went into it a little bit more, but then you kind of drift away from her having this connection to it now being like a psychic connection, more to a past experience connection, and then you kind of understand why. So they're on this manhunt for somebody called Longlegs, and every time there's someone going into a building or there's research happening, the tension is never letting go. It's always there. Like when she goes home for the first time after being out with her boss, she goes into the house and it's quiet as all can be, and she's getting all the lights on, blah blah blah, and then she's going through all these notes and reading things, and then she hears voices every now and then. It sounds like it's saying Harker. So she goes out and looks in, like, I guess it's like her living room, and it's like a big open area, big window, and there's someone standing there. And I get it. She's an FBI agent. She has a gun. She can go and defend herself. But as me, I would be like, fuck no. I'm going in my car. I'm going back to my agent's house, and I'm fucking staying there. But I don't know if it's because this connection that she feels that, okay, well, I'm just going to go out and do it because I feel like I know who this person is, blah, blah, blah. And then she goes out to where the person was standing, and then as she's looking in the background, the dude's in her house. And I think she sees him, and crazy enough, what does she do? Drum roll, please. Goes back into her house, because horror movie logic 101. You see something happening in your house that's creepy, you go back into that house. So she goes there and she sees there's a note that says, "Do not open until January 14th." And one connection that we find out is that all these killings are happening people with a birthday being on the 14th of any month. They can be killed on that day or a couple days before and or after. So then she starts finding these research papers and stuff, and has like a graph, and she's reading the book of Revelation, and then the 7 circles of hell and all these other things, and you find out, okay, this guy is satanic, and that definitely comes true when we start seeing more of Longlegs and he's talking about Satan and all this other shit. And then things start really, really popping off. There's so much that happens in this film very quickly that I'm not going to go over all of it because I want everybody to go and see it. But long story short, she finds out this connection is actually to her because she was the girl in the beginning of the film, and her mother was there that day too, outside, and got connected with Longlegs, and then he starts singing and doing a Nicolas Cage thing because Nick Cage plays Longlegs, and he starts doing his cageisms, but he's in prosthetic this time, so it's even creepier. And I thought it's really, really cool what he does, and I want to see him in more roles like this. And she essentially signs a deal with him and or the devil or the man downstairs or the guy downstairs. I forget what it is, or the downstairs man, something like that. So she signs a deal with him that we will let Lee Harker grow up. Like, that's a theme of this film, is like letting little girls grow up to be women, because all the other families, they kind of have something like that. But what happens is the mother delivers these dolls to these families that has like a ball in it that I guess is praised with the devil or something in it. And once they're dropped off at these houses, it kind of takes over everybody in the house. It draws the little girl of the family to the doll, and they get connected. But the father goes absolutely insane and murders everybody. And then the doll is either picked up or left there, and then it kind of goes on and goes on and goes on. And one thing to note is that the mother has to stay there and watch it and make sure it happens the way it is supposed to happen. And that kind of goes to the ending of the film, where things kind of go haywire and does not go the way it is intended to go. So we find out that the mother all along was the accomplice of Longlegs, because he essentially bashes his brains in on a table at the FBI facility down below, and things go crazier after that, because then Harker goes home with one of the other agents. Because the reason why the agent went with her is because, like, I'm not letting you go alone because of what you just saw, which is understandably something you should do. Somebody was traumatically compromised. So she goes there. Lee goes into the house by herself because she says, I need to do this alone, blah, blah, blah. I can get my mom to come out and we can take her back in to question her. And this part got me because of how fucking visceral it was, and how the perspective of this film, it's played with a lot of up close shots of like the characters, but leaving the background very blurred out. It makes you think things are moving or not. But with this one is that Lee Harker is hearing gunshots. Sorry, 1 second. Is hearing gunshots, and she looks out the window, and her mother has a double-barrel shotgun shooting the agent in the car. And the second blast, we see it, and dude, blood is everywhere. And how loud it was in the theater with the visuals and the score at the time, it like really got to me. I love that shot. Very, very cool. And then that's when we find out that if you destroy these dolls, you essentially let the devil out of the child and the doll, because like this black mist comes out of the silver ball, and also came out of Lee Harker's head. And then we get to the ending of the film where she finds out that her mom is now at Agent Carter's house, which I was thinking, like, the Agent Carter's daughter has to have a birthday on the 14th, but they never said it, I don't think. Otherwise, I think he would have been a little bit more cautious of what was happening. But we are confirmed that that is the case, because then when Lee goes there, the doll's there, her mom is there, and Carter kills his wife, and then Lee shoots Carter because obviously he's insane right now, taken over by the devil. So she ends up to end his life and then kills her mom and then tries to shoot the doll. Now, after watching this, I was watching some reviews, and a lot of people are saying that, oh, she just ran out of bullets at the end of the film. I don't think that's the case. My theory is that the devil is still connected to the daughter that the doll was brought to, and Lee, not having a shot gun, she has a full clip that's probably got 12 bullets in it. She definitely did not shoot off 12 bullets in a span of 5 minutes. When she goes to shoot the doll, it just clicks, and I think the devil was making that not happen. I don't think it wanted to be shot. I think somehow the power was still there, strong enough for it to essentially protect itself, so that we can still be with the host. But we're left on that. We're left on that little hanger right there, and I was so happy they didn't do this, because they were lingering on Harker for so long. I'm like, please do not make her smile to insinuate that she is now carrying the deed. We don't. We just leave her staring at the thing, breathing really heavy, and trying to get the daughter out. And that's essentially the film. It's a really good serial killer movie with a lot of supernatural aspects to it that I dig. I actually think I might like this a little bit more than, dare I even say it, Silence of the Lambs. I feel like Silence of the Lambs is so overhyped and everybody talks about it. 7 I still really enjoy, but I like it less and less now because of said people that are in the film. But I think with how fresh this film is and how beautifully shot it is and how intimate it feels at times with the tension and aspect ratio and trying to figure out like what's going on and feel the view and just all these other really cool things, I really liked it. I thought everybody that was in this film did an amazing job, and I need Oz to go make more films like this. I hope there's not a Long Legs 2. That's all I'm going to say. Move on from this and do something else, because I think what you have here is beautiful. Like I said, it's not going to be for everybody, and for those who do like this, I'm really, really happy. For those of you who gave it a shot and found that you didn't like it, I'm happy for you too. But for those of you who just want to outright hate it, just to hate it, you can go screw yourself. I hate people like that. But my rating of this is, I did enjoy it. There were points where it lost me for sure. I think there was room to grow with some things in here, and I think I'm going to have to end it with maybe like a 7.5 out of 10. Is the hype overly hyped? Yes, it always is. The hype is always greater than the film, unfortunately. I don't think there's ever been a time in history where hype matches the level of a film, and I wish that would happen, but unfortunately it doesn't really happen at all. But yeah, 7.5 out of 10 for Long Legs. Go see it, please. Go support films. Go support any kind of horror in the theater. Watch it with an audience. My theater was packed, and there's a lot of and oh my god and holy fucks happening in this film while we're watching it. So go support this film. Thank you guys so much for being here. This was really fun. I'm definitely going to watch it again because there's some things I need to go back and see if my brain was playing tricks on me or if it actually did happen. But thank you guys so much for being here, and we'll catch you on the next one.